it's been over a month since my last video, and I moved to college, I was on a trip, there was a bunch of stuff in between, and I don't want to make it sound like an excuse because I definitely probably could have uploaded earlier, but I was just getting shit on with a bunch of work at the same time, so I wanted to make sure when I restructured this channel, because obviously I'm not at home anymore, I'm living in an apartment, that it wasn't just a boring white wall behind me, because that would suck. And so I got some sick posters over here, some legends behind me. The lighting is kind of ass in here, but I think I'm able to make it work. And we got this cool new, over here, got this cool new thing going on. But anyway, yeah, that's where I've been for the past month. I'm not gonna keep going on about it because we have an Eminem album to review, and it's almost weird saying that because by the time I started my channel, I didn't think I would be reviewing another Eminem album until I was way out of college, like another 3 years from now, so this is pretty miraculous that we got an Eminem album, like, just months after his last album. And Revival, just to make a quick note on it, I liked Revival more than most people probably did. A lot of people shit on Revival, including Eminem himself now, going so far as to step on it in his fall music video. But overall, I thought it was a decent project. I mean, he's 45, I don't really expect him to be angry like he was back in the day. Yeah, I get the fact that there was a bunch of pop stars like Ed Sheeran and Beyonce on it, but, I mean, what are you gonna do? You know? Anyway, Eminem, Kamikaze, let's get into it. The first track we get off of Eminem's new surprise album is The Ringer, and it helps him get a lot of the things off of his chest that he's wanted to ever since Revival dropped, and probably since before that. And overall, I think it does a good job of setting the tone of the album really well, the not so serious, but also kind of take me serious, and I'm just gonna use my technical ability on most of these tracks. Tone of this album, we're getting modern beats with modern producers like The Ringer, which has Ronnie J. Also getting that callback to old Slim Shady everybody wants, old angry Eminem back. So on here he talks about things like Donald Trump, rape, Caleb Brown, Mike Pence, drugs, all these things that are sort of part and parcel when it comes to the subject matter, these controversial subjects that Eminem has been speaking on since his inception way back on the Slim Shady LP. Well, he had Infinite before that, but you know what I mean. Shady wasn't really around until the Slim Shady LP. In 6 minutes, for those people who say that Eminem for some reason isn't having any content in his songs, which I think if you go to Revival, that's like complete bullshit, because it's full of, no matter whether you like it or not, it's full of content. Every single song is about something different for the most part. But here we have him covering a whole host of topics like music reviewers, overused flows, throwaway artists, his last album, Revival, and how shitty it is, and people not understanding good lyrics anymore, the BET cypher near the end, just everything you could possibly think of that has surrounded Eminem in the news as of late. And I'm not really going to cover the production on this song, just because it's pretty minimalistic. It is a nice Ronnie J beat, it's, you know, low-key, but it's more so Eminem is at the forefront of it. He's not trying to make you cringe at how horrible the song is. He's trying to get you to listen by giving you a beat that you might like so that you can listen to his words and what he's saying. I mean, let's just talk about the technical ability on this track. The amount of flow switches, rhyme schemes, impressive wordplay, brazen vocal delivery and cadence all make this song a real performer on this album. Moving on to the second track of this album, The Greatest, continues with that crazy rhyme scheme and lyrical onslaught that started on The Ringer. And honestly, the flow on this song and how it switches through the middle of the verses, and the song's produced by Mike Will Made It, which is also just weird for Eminem, is honestly just ridiculous. When I first listened to this track, there are two things that stood out to me, and the first one is Eminem never has really sounded this weird on a hook, and I found out that it mimics Playboy Cardi's Woke Up Like This, which is kind of funny, I guess. And that's something that Eminem does a lot on this record in general. He just kind of takes artists' art forms or, you know, their choruses, things they're known for, and just mimics them to use it to his advantage and try to make them sound stupid or overplayed or something like that. And at first, honestly, it sounded a little bit wonky and just a little too weird to me, but it's grown on me up until this point, especially with the amount of technical ability packed into the song. It's a funny juxtaposition between a really basic chorus and some really technical verses. The production is great too, with some real powerful and crunchy guitar riffs, these whining electronic additions, and this really quick and crazy, kind of powerful drum beat that brings a lot of energy and puts a lot of emphasis behind the things that Eminem is saying on this track. Halfway through the verses, we get these classic kind of holy keys that Eminem is known for and using. I say classic just because Eminem uses this to kind of amp himself up, like, oh, Eminem is coming, on a lot of the songs that he does put out, and I think it does work on here. It's not like too overbearing or ridiculous. And Eminem, before he does start each verse, actually takes a pause, which I like. It the verses kind of come in waves, and it adds to that raw energy feel of the track. Oh, Jesus. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm fucking sweating in this thing. I gotta figure out how to get some goddamn air in here. Anyway, the third track is Lucky You, which is the track that most people have been raving about because it features Joyner Lucas, come-up artist. Eminem says that he found him like 5 years ago or something. He was known for his hit song, everyone's kind of heard of it, called I'm Not Racist. And Joyner Lucas brings a lot of that technical ability that is needed when you come onto a verse with M, something like Royce the 5'9" brings or Kendrick Lamar. So like I said about the greatest, Eminem does this thing where he brings these keys on here and kind of makes the track sound holy and maybe regal in a way, and he extends that to Joyner Lucas on this track, which I think is pretty fitting because of how Joyner Lucas's intro is on this track, where he's kind of the hungry one on the come up, you know, he's about to make it on this, whereas Eminem might be the king at the moment, and he's still hungry and still ready to go after people who think that they can take his spot. I think the epic chimes and pianos are a really great lead-in to the more trap-style production that coats this track, which again is a huge switch up for Eminem, especially this late in his career. He doesn't really have that much experience from what I can tell with beats like this. The chorus is obviously, again, almost mimicking artists these days, but it's really cool. Joyner brings that energy that I think really makes this song into a banger and not just a mockery of common day, rap artists. Joyner covers a lot of topics with a host of flows and some pretty hype ad-libs. And Eminem honestly has some of the best wordplay and engaging flows that I've ever heard from him on a track. It seems like he really wanted to give Joyner Lucas an awesome song, but also like he felt that pressure from Joyner Lucas, as good of an artist as he is, to really bring some heat and energy onto this track. I like how the chimes eventually do kind of dip into the background and the pianos come up front, and it does give it a more ominous and regal attitude and tone. It really creates a great atmosphere, like we've upset the king of rap or something. And I think personally this is my favorite track of the album. I mean, there's not too many to choose from that really match this. Now, Eminem is no stranger to making songs that are about women and not normal. We get more of that with Eminem kind of engaging in this crazy situation with a woman. Both Em and her are in this love-hate relationship, and it gets violent and just absurd in general. It reminds me of Love Game with Kendrick Lamar from the Marshall Mathers LP2, a little bit with its ridiculously. And honestly, when I gave this album the first couple of listens, I didn't really like this song. It's just, there's so many songs in Eminem's catalog that are about women that I think are better, but I do think Eminem did a great job with making this song more absurd and not serious than it could have been. The beat switch is great as it goes from this more dark and sinister one to this uppity and sarcastic one almost, with these prancing pianos. In a way, when I listen to this and just following Eminem for so long, I feel like he's almost parodying himself with how ridiculous he gets on both ends of the spectrum when it comes to love songs. Let's just be glad that on an album like this, where he is pretty angry, we didn't get like a Kim 2 or something, which I know wouldn't happen anyway because of, where he's at in life, but you know what I mean. Then we have the Paul skit where Paul calls Eminem, telling him, when are you gonna make a Kamikaze 2 now? It's just gonna be a slippery slope, I guess. And, it's pretty funny. It makes Eminem seem more aware about what he's doing, and for this album not really to be taken as serious as I think people are taking it. For longtime fans of Eminem who have listened to some of D12, or, you know, if you're a longtime fan, you probably know of D12 and what it is. It's a pretty bittersweet ending to the D12 saga. And honestly, anyone in the loop could have predicted this. I mean, D12 hasn't really even been a thing for a long time. It's honestly not that hard to even get over it. I mean, there's nothing to get over, really. No one was really expecting a new D12 album coming anytime soon. I think it'd be better if the artists just went their own ways. But I think it's a nice change of pace because Eminem has a lot of subject matter that gets brought up a lot, and D12 really isn't part of that, and it's nice to see him finally, you know, this album is getting everything off of his chest, really, that he's wanted to talk about. And I think it's great that he's bringing D12 into the mix and kind of, you know, purging his thoughts on it. The beat is great, it sounds like classic Eminem, or even something that could have been off of the Marshall Mathers LP too. Eminem's heightened singing at the end is a little bit, you know, whatever. And the pre-chorus, honestly, suffers from that a little bit too, but I mean, if you're a fan of Eminem, even if you're not, no one comes to an Eminem album wanting to hear Eminem sing for how many years it's been. Every time he sings, it just kind of, he falls flat on his face a bit. I understand as an artist, you'd personally want to say those lyrics yourself, you'd want to put in the emotion of those lyrics. I completely understand that, especially with a, you know, subject like this, like the breakup of D12. But as a song, it's definitely a little bit grating. However, I do think he does really well in the chorus, and overall I do think it's a great track. One of the better beats on here, one of the most nostalgic beats on here, and it's great to hear Eminem rap about a topic that he doesn't really talk about all that much. The next song, Not Alike, is pretty hilarious to me, starting with the beat. We lived long enough somehow to hear Eminem on a Take Keith beat, which makes no sense to me at all. Who knows if Eminem will honestly ever make another album with as modern of a beat selection as the one found on this one. So I'm gonna appreciate it while it's here. Not to say that I don't like Eminem beats, but they're unique sometimes. The chorus is pretty funny. Yeah, it's a pretty simple way to just mock like the Migos or whatever. I get it, they don't have anything alike. And Royce honestly destroys this verse, but Eminem just had so much more time to flex his lyrical ability. Let's give a salute to Royce, because his last album was great. I don't think I reviewed it, but he definitely deserves some credit on that album. I still listen to many of those songs today. And Eminem makes most of the subject matter on here a diss towards MGK, and these bars are actually ridiculous. These are some of the longest setups and most satisfying punchlines I've heard on I don't know if you call this a diss record, but just a record in general. Like, some of these it's like just 8 lines of a setup just for one punchline. That's just crazy to me. And for someone to be 45 years old, like that's the age of my parents, and to be doing this, like that's just, you know. The only thing I did have a little bit of an issue with, even though I love this song, is towards the end we get a little bit of a lyrical, spiritual, miracle stuff going on. But it's okay. In this case, I will pardon Eminem myself. Not that it literally makes any sense that I'm doing this, but I mean, the track's fire. Whatever. He just went off on a little bit of a verbal flexing at the end. That's cool with me. Next up, we have the title track, Kamikaze, and this track I was a little bit bipolar on, because on one hand, I know it's supposed to just be like a ignorant remake of Fack, one of his worst songs, even though I do find it mildly entertaining for some reason. It's just so ridiculous. Just to be able to show people, like, look, I could spit at this high of a level, and then also just make some absolute dog shit for you to listen to just because I can and I want to piss you off. Like, I get it's like a modus operandi for Eminem at this point. But it's also like a literal cartoon brought to life on a beat, and sometimes, depending on the day, it's just unbearable to listen to. Not saying I listen to Eminem every single day in my life, but for real, the beat is just so wacky and springy, with Eminem on the chorus sounding like he's throwing a literal temper tantrum. Everything on here, even the writing, is just corny enough and in your face to just bring that message home. Sometimes I find it funny, sometimes I'm sitting there like, Jesus, what am I listening to right now? Which is obviously the point. So I don't even know how to rate this song. It's just like, it's just there. But the scratching at the end by Scram Jones is actually pretty sick. And I also like that this is the title track, named after the actual album, because it just makes the message of the album so much more honest and clear. He's just like the Brits say, he's taking a piss, mate. He's taking a piss on all of us. So after that temper tantrum, we get a more serious and ominous beat in the song Fall with Justin Vernon from Bon Iver fame doing the chorus. And Justin Vernon does a great job with his hauntingly delivered singing on the chorus, but the beat really isn't anything that's special to me. I can relate it to a song like The Ringer because it's more of a stationary kind of beat just for Eminem to be able to spit his lyrics on and get the message that he wants to get across. And that is something that he does thoroughly on every verse of this song. This is like the diss track where he's calling out everyone by name. We have Charlemagne, we have Joe Budden, we have DJ Academics, Tyler the Creator, Pitchfork, the Grammys, and Lord Jamar. It almost feels like Eminem doesn't really care on this album, and he's using this song almost as a Hail Mary attempt to kind of wake up the game from whatever state he thinks it's currently in. And some people get that message. They've also been feeling that way. Eminem's technical skills, again, are grade A. I mean, the flow on the verses in this song are just ridiculous. I'm sure there are rappers who are hearing this and are just like, God damn, I wish I could flow on a beat like this. Like, it's crazy. It just sounds natural. Just perfect beat writing. I haven't heard something like this in a while from a rapper, honestly. It just sounds like this flow was just meant to go with this beat. Now, Eminem has a lot of songs that are based on relationships, like I mentioned before, most of which my personal favorites are actually on recovery, things like 25 to Life, or Spacebound, a few others that I think he did a really great job with the writing and the message and just the production overall feel of them. And Nice Guy and Good Guy aren't the worst additions, but they're not really something special that I'm going to be coming back to. It's not something that he hasn't already done before. Like I said, even on this album, earlier on this album, with Normal, the same kind of thing. This Nice Guy track is just kind of an extension of that, and it doesn't really add anything to this album or to his discography, I think. Nice Guy's funny, and I get it. Jessie Reyes' vocals are honestly just pretty grating to me, but I think she does a really good job on Good Guy. I think that Eminem could have left these off the album, especially since Good Guy is just one long verse and then, a verse, I guess, a chorus, an ending by Jessie Reyes. It's not something I can see myself really even being in the mood to listen to later on. So I don't even really want to review Venom just because it's a movie track, and they're kind of like just created for the movie, and I don't like counting those as part of a canon album. And just because everyone's already memed the hell out of the objectively shit chorus on this track, I mean, it's just objectively bad. It's annoying to listen to. I don't know if it's just another joke that Eminem decided to throw on this album. Hopefully it is, because it's just bad. But if you have watched the interviews with Eminem and Sway, then this beat sounds very familiar because it's used as the outro beat to each of the 4-part series of that interview. Honestly, I think it's one of the coolest evil beats that I've heard Eminem rap on. It sounds like it could have been something from the Shady 15, Shady XV compilation album that he did years back, which had a very similar soundscape. The writing isn't anything amazing, but it works. I really do enjoy some of it though, like the whole Gandhi backing up India kind of scheme going on there. That was really clever, I thought. Overall, stay for the beat. Skip the choruses if you can. Honestly, I download like an instrumental of this beat. It just sounds so cool. Definitely something that's gonna sound great in Venom, the movie. Oh, had to get something to quench my thirst right there. I'm still sweating in here. Jesus. So overall, what do I think of this album? I think it's a decent album. There's nothing really groundbreaking about it, and there are some pretty mediocre parts to this album. Like on Nice Guy, like on Good Guy, like Normal, like Kamikaze. Even just the beat selection, even though it is more modern, some of it really isn't all that entertaining. You are really here to witness Eminem's technical ability. But honestly, I almost take this album like a joke, like it's not even a canon Eminem album. It's not as well thought out, but it's almost as if Eminem gave us a pile of songs that were really technical, great beat selection, good features, and then on the other end of the spectrum just decided to give us shit that he knows will piss us off, like Kamikaze, which is literally just an extension of fact. I mean, some of these songs just feel like they're just thrown in here just because he had them laying around or something. But I do think that this album, even though it might not be a great album per se, it's not going to be a classic album or anything like that, but I do think that it is an important album in a sense when it comes to hip-hop culture, when it comes to the game, man, the hip-hop game. Eminem does an adequate job of expressing himself, defending himself, calling out things that not only he himself finds wrong with the culture, but a lot of people find wrong with the culture. I mean, watch interviews on Sway or any other podcast. Go watch Charlamagne's podcast, go watch Joe Budden's podcast, go watch Complex, The Everyday Struggle. All these hosts have some segments in these podcasts that talk about this, that talk about the state of the game. It's always changing, and I think Eminem is adding to that in a way we've never really seen before, where he's expressing this, and a lot of people are vocalizing it back. And I think he's getting a lot of support. So I think, although it's not a great album, it's an important album from someone that is as revered in the industry and as successful as he is in the industry to make. I mean, even in the interview with Sway, he talks about how he had like a song he was going to release and then it kind of became an album haphazardly. I don't think he ever intended to release a full album. I think it just kind of happened that way, and that's why I don't really consider this canon. I hate to keep comparing this to Revival, but he's just done it so many times on these tracks here where it's almost impossible not to. So I think Revival's a better album than this, but he had so much more time to work on that. And this kind of felt like, you know what, I'm just gonna release some shit just so I can get some things off my chest. And it's not really an album that he planned to have in his discography, I guess you could say. So overall, I'm gonna give this album a 4 out of 10. Those are the reasons why. So now I just wanted to talk about the whole MGK diss with Rap Devil and Eminem diss with Killshot thing that was going on, and people were waiting, whoa, is he gonna drop? Is he actually gonna respond to MGK? And I definitely knew in my head that he would respond to MGK, just because it's like, how can you call someone out just on your record and then have them respond and get 70 million plays on YouTube and not respond to that? That's with how petty Eminem himself is saying that he's being with this album in a way. It just makes complete sense that he'd continue that with a response to MGK. But I do think that the sport when it comes to diss tracks is just kind of lost on rappers these days. I mean, even listening to MGK's diss track, I mean, it's total just throwaway trash. He's not really saying much. Yeah, you banned me off of... He's claiming that Eminem banned him off of Shade 45. Who gives a shit? Honestly, it's not like Sway makes people in the industry. Sway is not out there, pardoning rappers that can make money. I mean, MGK sounds like he's just kind of bitching for the most part and just calling Eminem old. Okay, MGK, you're gonna be old in 20 years too. And you're not gonna be able to respond to good rappers because you never really worked on your craft all that much. I feel like Eminem just came with a real response. For the most part, it wasn't really full force. He was just kind of tapping him, just back off. Nothing really career destroying worthy. It wasn't like an atom bomb of a diss track. I mean, if he didn't call him out on his own album, it's not even... Why would he even respond back? Rappers these days, with how the style has kind of transitioned or switched over to mumble rap, even though MGK's not really a mumble rap artist. I feel like the sport is lost because they're chasing money in their own lane. It doesn't require technical ability for the most part. It doesn't require great rhyme schemes, things that Eminem grew up on. And so it's like two people are arguing about completely different things at the end of it. I mean, one person is using this as a meme, the other person is trying to make an actual point about the state of hip-hop, and the other person is using this as just an opportunity to build some hype for themselves and be like, woo, I dissed Eminem, whoa. That doesn't seem as real, maybe, as disses in the past used to seem. So who won out of the two diss tracks? Eminem obviously won. I just feel like years from now when we look back and just see who had the better lines, more technical ability, and an actual purpose to their diss, it's gonna seem like Eminem won, obviously, and it's gonna seem like MGK was just like a big goof, to quote Eminem himself. That's my personal opinion. You guys let me know. What did you guys think about the album? Who do you think won the battle between MGK and Eminem? Hopefully I'll be back here soon. Like I said, still trying to figure things out. In school right now, so my time is my last year of school, so my time is a little bit limited, but I'll try to do my best. Until next time, peace.